To say Capcom is a very interesting gaming studio is to say the least. Now, I'm not talking about the inner workings of the company. No, the employees don't seem to be crunched and there aren't a million sexual accusations. By all means, Capcom is just a normal gaming studio publishing games. No, my interest with them lies in their products. The most popular gaming series, that being both Resident Evil and Street Fighter, are understandably the most heavily marketed, but if you actually take a second to look, you'll find a long list of forgotten IPs, some of which not only received critical acclaim, but still have a small fan base to this day. But one of these series I feel like falls in the middle, where it's not in the same league as Resident Evil, but it is definitely not forgotten, that being Devil May Cry. I've heard this series be brought up from time to time, but one very important thing needed to set the stage for this review is I didn't know shit about this series. In this review, you won't find a brief summary of this game's developmental history or stories of fan reception. I purchased the Devil May Cry HD collection along with the 4th and 5th entry on my PS4 simply because it's a series I've been meaning to get into. And I started my Devil May Cry journey only knowing 3 things. 1. You play as a badass named Dante. 2. This game was based off of a scrapped RE4 build. And 3. Apparently the reboot is terrible. Someone who is as blind to the series as I am somehow knew that. Anyways, I just finished playing through the first game, and after I was done, I only had one thing in mind. Holy shit, I needed to play this. Devil May Cry is one of the more interesting titles I've had the pleasure of experiencing. So what better way to delve into this gem than to do a review? Without further delay, let's talk about some...
Let's rock, baby.
For a 2001 game, a word doesn't exist that can do justice to how amazing this game looks. So let's settle for phenomenal. One thing you'll immediately notice is the camera, or rather the choice of camera. See, Devil May Cry uses fixed camera angles like most older Capcom titles, and I'm personally a huge fan. This especially makes sense considering this was 3 years prior to the revolutionary over-the-shoulder angle RE4 would go on to introduce. It's genuinely disappointing most modern games have forgotten this age-old practice, but I think fixed camera angles can make your game look much more cinematic and can also create some pretty amazing shots. But how does the game look? Wonderful. You control Dante inside of an undead-filled evil castle, and you'll find yourself in a variety of dark and eerie locations both in and around said castle. These locations are comprised of gorgeous 3D environments. Honestly, the game speaks mostly for itself. The models for the 2 human, well, I say human with huge quotations, characters are standard PS2, though both Dante and Triss look badass in their own right. However, the main attraction involving design lies in the undead monsters you'd be facing. Now, the devs could have opted for the rare, generic-looking demons, but they instead feature much more creative and unique designs that all vary depending on the creature. Switching over to cutscenes, the game excels in this front too, very occasionally using pre-rendered cutscenes for its more extravagant scenes, but mostly using real-time in-game cutscenes. Regardless of whether it's pre-rendered or in-game, these cutscenes are directed beautifully, and it's worth noting the voice work is all around pretty decent. Going over to the soundtrack, I love it. It's basically one big collection of heavy rock with sprinkles of softer and more slower melodies. If you're into this type of genre, you're going to have a blast. My one real issue is the same tracks do get used pretty repeatedly early on, but that's not much of an issue once you progress more into the game. So yeah, in short, Devil May Cry's presentation is through the roof, especially considering this is all 2001 technology, and it deserves to be recognized. Now, the gameplay to this game is what I really wasn't expecting. I wasn't sure whether this would be a hack and slash, a shooter, or a more exploration heavy game like Resident Evil. Well, if you guessed either of the 3 genres, you guessed wrong, because it's all 3. Yep, Devil May Cry is an insanely solid gameplay experience, borrowing aspects from multiple other different genres at the time. You control Dante, a badass sword-wielding and gunslinging half-human, as maneuvered through Mundus's evil castle filled to the brim of undead threats. As far as controls go, things are pretty standard. You control Dante's movement using the left analog stick, you shoot by aiming with R1 and firing with the square button, and you attack with whatever melee option of your choice with the triangle button. Oh, and you use the right analog stick to taunt. I still don't know if taunting has any effect on gameplay or not, but it's still badass to do. As for the main gameplay loop of the game, you have to make your way to the castle in a variety of ways, the most popular of which include finding key items, boss fights, doors with paywalls, etc. Now, one design choice that genuinely confused me was dividing the game's segments into a span of 22 missions. In most linear games, where you just run through a level until you progress into a new area, it makes sense. However, with a game that has such a heavy reliance on backtracking, I feel like this mission system kills what could have been some pretty real immersion. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, imagine you're just walking around the Spencer mansion, salvaging for whatever items you can come across when you enter through a door and you see a mission complete screen pop up. Kinda takes you out of it, doesn't it? Very minor complaint, I know, but I thought it was worth bringing up. Now, switching over to the combat side of things, most rooms will offer you a crowd of enemies to dispose of. Perfect time for me to mention how great combat feels in this game. You can slay your enemies in brutal up-close combat or shoot them from a distance, both of which feels fantastic. Also, Dante is incredibly agile in this game, being able to jump in the air or sprint pretty quickly, which the game is fully aware of, and tends to counteract with some pretty formidable and fast bosses and or enemy types whose attack will always manage to keep you on your toes. But what about your arsenal? Starting out with firearms, first are Ebony and Ivory. Two dual-wield pistols that, while on the weaker side, will get the job done early on. Then there's the shotgun, which I'll admit I may or may not have missed in my run. Oops. Next is the grenade launcher, which indiscriminately kicks all kinds of ass. While it may have a slow fire rate, the damage is absolutely satisfactory, stealing huge chunks from the health bars of your enemies. After that is the needle gun, a single-fire weapon used exclusively for underwater combat. While it's not amazing, it's the best you got, and like the other weapons, it will get the job done. Next is the Nightmare Beta. Honestly, I love the way this weapon works. Being pure fantasy, it will shoot a green beam that will ricochet and bounce all over the place, hitting nearby enemies. While I felt the grenade gun was far superior, this weapon ain't half bad and it gets points for creativity. Going over to the melee options, you start out with the Force Edge. It's alright, just your standard sword, and holy shit, what is this lightning sword? You eventually get access to Alistair, and it is a blade completely absorbed in electricity. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Unfortunately, it's too awesome considering no weapon later in the game surpasses it. What's most cool about it is its special ability, Devil's Trigger, allowing you to run at high speeds and attack twice as viciously. It's honestly a must-have for most bosses. Next is Infrit, a fire-based gauntlet that didn't really do it for me. While its raw melee output may have been good and its abilities are able to be enhanced by Devil's Trigger, it felt way too slow for me. And finally, there's Sparta, the epic, insane sword you obtain near the end of the game. While its damage output is high, unfortunately, the devs forbid you to use it with Devil's Trigger until the final boss. Come on, let a guy have fun. And that's your entire arsenal, and while the grenade gun and Alistair outshines everything else, I still love the variety nonetheless. Now, most people familiar with my taste knows that I love a game with some good bosses, and Devil May Cry is absolutely no exception. First is the Phantom, a giant fiery arachnid. This boss put my ass in check real quick, but once you figure him out, he's pretty easy to take out if you watch out for his close quarter attacks. Then there is Neo Angelo, my favorite fights in the game since they're simply one-on-one duels that, more than anything, requires precise timing on your part. After that is the Griffin, a giant bird who embodies two of my least favorite things to deal with in a game like this, an onslaught of mindless projectiles and an unresponsive camera. To be fair, the boss isn't that bad, and it can be exhilarating dodging all of his attacks. Next up is Nightmare, a dark, big blob capable of a huge amount of unpredictable attacks. The main gimmick of this one is lighting up the room by activating the runes around it, exposing its weak spot. What's fucking awesome about this fight is the creature can send you to an alternate hellish realm where you have to fight your way out to survive. And finally we have Mundus, a batshit insane final boss that you start out having a anime-esque battle in the sky with Dante in his final form, ending with an intense and hectic battle on the ground. What I love about each of these fights is they all play insanely differently and focuses on multiple aspects of the game in each fight. It's sick. So yeah, I think that's everything gameplay wise, and what a badass experience. The main word that sticks out in my mind with this game is variety. There's a variety in your arsenal, variety in enemy types, bosses, everything. It's a blast from beginning to end, and when you think you're getting tired of the gameplay loop, there will be something new introduced to shake things up. But this game is certainly not without a story. But does it hold up as well as gameplay? Well, let's talk about it. The game opens up with Dante, the main protagonist, relaxing in his shop named Devil May Cry. then a mysterious woman crashes into his shop.
You're the man who lost a mother and a brother to evil 20 years ago. The son of the legendary Dark Knight Sparta, Mr. Dante.
Well, the way I figure it, in this business a lot of your kind comes around. And if I kill each one that comes, eventually I should hit the jackpot sooner or later.
In that case, you should be used to this sort of thing.
Are you really the son of the legendary Dark Knight Sparta? Didn't your daddy teach you how to use a sword?
Sword. Time to go to work, guys. Even as a child, I had powers. There's demonic blood in me.
What strength?
You were the first one to know about my vengeance. Looks like I'm getting closer.
So yeah, as far as first impressions go, Dante is not to be fucked with. In the opening monologue, we find out Dante is the son of Sparta, a legendary dark knight born from the underworld who sealed Mundus, the ruler of the underworld, away. But now Mundus has reawakened and is attempting to regain power over the human world in his evil castle at Malay Island. Wanting revenge for his mother and brother who were killed by the undead, Dante sets off, with saving the world being a side bonus. So yeah, as far as plot goes, it's a decent start, but the premise is filled with cliches such as wanting revenge for the death of a loved one, having a parent who is a legendary hero and not of human blood, and a bad guy who wants to rule the world hiding away in his evil castle. It's a simple premise for a simple game. It's also revealed that this mysterious woman, Trish, is the undead version of Dante's mother. Dante and Trish arrive at the castle, and that's where the story starts. Now it's a good time to talk about Dante as a character. I love him. He's sure of himself and witty, but not to the point where it portrays him to be a hothead or an overconfident prick. He's a simple man with a simple goal and a laid-back posture. Now, one gripe I do have with this story is there are multiple missions, but basically nothing happens. You just go deeper and deeper into the castle and its grounds. While this isn't a big issue, I just wish the story was paced better since it doesn't really start picking up until its later half. Eventually, Dante is confronted by Phantom, who mistakenly sees our hero as easy pickings. He's fought off for now, and Dante gets more of the castle unlocked when he's approached by this guy, Neo Angelo.
This stinking hole was the last place I thought I'd find anyone with some guts.
Despite not talking much, it's clear Neo Angelo is a respectable and bold swordsman under Mundus' order. Like Phantom, Dante fights him off momentarily, but soon comes face to face with Phantom again, whose attempt to kill him goes as well as last time. The next enemy Dante encounters is Griffin, a flying bird who, like the other bosses, is unsuccessful in killing Dante. After more exploration and unsuccessful second attempts to kill our hero from both Neo Angelo and Griffin, Dante is approached by Griffin a third time. He wipes the floor of him, but this time, the maimed bird tries calling to his master for strength. It's here where we see just how cold and ruthless Mundus is. He lands the killing blow on Griffin, leaving Dante stunned and angry with his lack of honor and empathy. It's moments like these that show us how good in nature Dante really is. The next encounter is this nightmarish blob, appropriately named Nightmare, who Dante defeats twice in a row before encountering Neo Angelo a third time.
A man with guts and honor. I like that. But it's a shame you serve Mundus.
shit has got serious. Dante defeats the undead warrior, but it's here where it's revealed why Dante had a considerable amount of respect for this foe. This enemy is the undead version of his brother Virgil. Meanwhile, it is revealed that Trish, our companion, is actually loyal to Mundus. Makes sense considering she's done jack diddly shit to help us out. Now, having both his and his fallen brother's pendant, they both combine to not only allow entry into the underworld, but unseals Dante's sword, revealing it to be a weapon named Sparta. The weapon that belonged to his father. He ventures to the undead underworld and faces off against Nightmare in a heated final battle, but is interrupted by an electric blast to the chest courtesy of Trish, who has revealed her true colors. Regardless, Nightmare is extinguished and Dante rushes forward to save Trish from falling debris because of her resemblance to his mother. Still, Dante wants nothing to do with her, swearing that while she may have his mom's face, she is nothing more than an undead lackey. He continues forward, and can I just say I love this build-up to Mundus? You enter this clean, church-like building with royal music playing in the background before you see just how massive your opponent really is. He uses a captured Trish as leverage and wounds Dante. He's about to finish him when Trish intervenes and sacrifices herself, taking the blow instead. Enraged, Dante morphs into his ultimate form, and the two powerful beings clash in an otherworldly fight, ending with Mundus' defeat. Now back in the underworld, Dante takes a second to mourn the loss of his ally.
My mother risked her life for me, and now you too. I should have saved you. I should have been the one to fill your dark soul with light! This was my mother's. Now I'm giving it to you. My father's also here now. Rest in peace.
Now in a classic RE final escape sequence, Dante has to escape from the destructive castle with only so much time remaining. He makes it from the underworld into the bottom of the castle when he's confronted by Mundus, who intends to not let Dante escape. He attempts to finish Mundus, but his powers are too weak. That's when Trish comes in clutch, revealing that not only is she alive, but she gives him with her powers, which combined with Dante's means the end of the ruler of the underworld.
Looks like we have a winner.
Jackpot. Goodbye. And when you do come back, give my regards to my son, will ya? Trish!
Dante. Dante.
Trish, devils never cry. These tears, Tears are a gift only humans have.
We're too late.
No, Trish. It's never too late. And we humans never give up. Are you ready?
Yes!
Yeah, I don't know where the plane came from either, but who cares? The two just barely escaped their lives and they fly back to Dante's shop, now working together to expel evil wherever it lurks and keep Moonless and his army at bay. And that was the story of Devil May Cry. But there are issues like the cliches, Trish's redemption being pretty random, and the pacing. It's hard to really demand that much out of it. It's a simple plot that's played off in a really straightforward manner. There's some pretty cool story moments sprinkled throughout, and Dante is a really fun character. Sure, it's nothing special, but I am personally really fond of it. In conclusion, Devil May Cry is a hell of a game. It nails exploration, the presentation is beautifully stunning in both visuals and soundtrack, it has insanely smooth combat and movement, it's perfect for replays in order to not only speedrun the game but also get Dante as powerful as possible, and the story is pretty charming and full of some pretty cool and well-directed moments. It's no wonder Devil May Cry made such a splash, and I gotta tell you, I am glad I went into this blind as a bat. I plan on doing so with the other sequels. Devil May Cry is justifiably a certified gaming classic, and it deserves respect for being as unique and flawless as it is. Anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, then please like and subscribe, and as always, I will see you guys next time. Peace out.